Right, welcome one, welcome all. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it's 10 bells, time for another Brews at 10. These are the weekday live streams here on my left eye. I'm your host, Lefty. Thanks a lot for joining me this evening. Get yourself a brew, treat yourself to a biscuit. Okay, so it's good to be back. Yeah, first of all, going to be doing a sort of retake of the Restore Nature Now march, which took place the other weekend. Had some technical difficulties during the last stream, but they've all been resolved now. Had some issues with the mic. And then a power cut, which was slightly inconvenient in terms of timing, so just going to go over those bits about the Restore Nature Now festival march, I should say. Good evening, Octo Mimic. Thanks for joining me tonight. Hope you're very well. Whether you're listening live or on a replay, please do hit the subscribe, thumbs up buttons, etc. Help get us out to more people. Of course, I'm going to be catching up with the election latest as well. Just a few days to go now. Things are getting slightly tense, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And yeah, first of all, I'd like to start off as always by saying a big thank you to the members on the channel. And if you'd like to consider joining this list of wonderful folks, please do consider that. That's just 99p, and you can check out the perks. So here's the latest updated members list. And as always, great thanks to every single one of you. And they'll be getting into articles, clips and stuff very shortly. Just a couple of articles to go into. Yeah, Octo Mimic, I was going to quickly mention that situation with Trump as well. The courts ruled that, well, he'll be standing in a lower court, and this could affect his ability as he's standing in the US election, that is, of course. What a fantastic choice they have over there as well. Of course, we're stuck with absolute tripe for the two main parties. At least we have other candidates on the ballot, who of course I encourage people to vote for as well. But in the States, recently Biden as well has had these series of gaffes on live interviews and TV broadcasts. He's seems to be absent-minded and stumbling over his words. He is, of course, an octogenarian. He's the oldest sitting US president, but also ironic. I mean, Trump's just a few years younger. If Trump wins, then ironically, he would break that record during the next 5 years. But yeah, either way, not a great choice. A lot of people have speculated that Trump's recent convictions as well might actually garner him more support amongst his hardcore supporters. You know, not quite the full shilling, as it were. And of course, Joe Biden has been brought up on the channel a lot concerning the occupation of Gaza as well. So not a great choice they've got over there. But yeah, got slightly sidetracked there. That was the members scroll. Cheers everyone for showing solidarity in that way. Right, let's get started. I'll just bring up the first bookmark. This is an article from Vox Political Online. It's a pretty brief article, but I think it's worth a read. Give it a quick scan. Okay, here we go. Just, move on over there a bit. There you go. So you might remember, if you've watched live streams on my left eye before, Leon Mohammed at the top there. And this concerns one of the hot seats. I'm going to be going over those at length later in the stream. But in particular, the hot seat that we've got on the channel for Ilford North. Now, this is Wes Streeting's seat, current Shadow Health Secretary, hoping to become Health Secretary, so that he can privatise more of the NHS, of course. H. Luke Hill, a very warm welcome to you this evening. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us on the stream and in the chat. And I did play one of her campaign videos on a recent stream, and she's putting up a pretty impressive campaign, truth be told. And it looks like she's in with a shout. That's why this is one of the hot seats. Yeah, just quickly read through this from Vox Political Online. Shout out to them again. So people are so sick of Labour that Wes Streeting could lose to Leon Mohammed in Ilford North, where canvasser for the independent candidates are now having to wear distinct identification showing that they are not from Wes Streeting's party in order to get residents to open their front doors. So Wes Streeting is that unpopular in the constituency now that when people go canvassing, they won't even answer the door if it's a Labour candidate. Wow, you know. So Leon Mohammed has more policies than demanding justice for people of Gaza, but it's the genocide that has cut through with many voters. They don't want to support Labour, which they see as, quote, the genocide party, end quote. So that's one of the seats that we'll have our eye on during the live streams on election night itself. The way that's going to go down, by the way, just very quickly, I'm going to try and do my level best to be on live during the release of the exit poll. And then as the results start to come in, sometime between midnight and 2 a.m, that's when I'll kick things off. I'll probably have to have a little bit of a break. The actual result itself probably won't come through till 4 or 5 a.m. That's the way these things tend to roll. And as you know, as much as I'd love to do 4 or 5 hours straight, I'm gonna have to have a very brief break in there. So I'd love for you all to join me on election night itself, following live coverage as the results come in, and keep an eye out for the hot seats. There are some hot questions that need answering as well. We're talking about those shortly. They've been updated as well. And I will make some final predictions as well before the exit poll is released. I did an early predictions video after the election was announced, and one or two things have slightly changed. Obviously, it's been almost 6 weeks now, and we'll know in just a few days. But obviously, as we've gone through the weeks, there've been changes in circumstances, controversies, this sort of thing. Speaking of which, the most recent one being the Reform Party being, I mean, it's no shock that their candidates have been caught out using racist language, racist tropes to try and gain votes. Oh, goodness me. Well, they're not even a party, are they? They're a company, but Reform found out to be slightly right-wing and racist. How shocking. And obviously there was some appalling language directed at Rishi Sunak as well. Got a very long list of reasons why I dislike Rishi Sunak, but the colour of his skin certainly isn't one of them. And I think there have been quite a few now. So things like this, and obviously Starmer's been awful in all of the interviews. I mean, if he does win, you know, this is the sort of stuff you're going to be seeing every day. He's already making poor excuses as opposition leader, but he's not holding up well because he's painted himself into a corner and all this, you know, the attempt to disassociate from socialism, let's be honest, with all this clarion call of change. Just doesn't add up with things that he's said and done in the past, of course. So that was the first quick article, just to sort of show how one of the hot seats is going. I'll take a look at a tweet from BBC Leicester now. Yes, it's still a tweet. Yes, it's still Twitter. Sure, well, that's loading very slowly. But okay. Just pause that 1 second.
Party to field a candidate for us today, but they weren't able to do that. So we asked for representatives from Leicestershire and Rutland, and as I say, nobody was available. They did.
This pretty much goes to show why people, I mean, they're saying sick of politics, but what it is just being obviously sick of the main established parties, as it were. And I think this is a pretty good summing up what we're about to see.
Send us, though, a statement saying, and I quote, "In this election, the people of Leicestershire have a choice. They can either stick with the plan and return Rishi Sunak to number 10, continuing to bring down inflation, build a strong economy and deliver a safe and secure future. Under Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, this is all at risk. Labour has no plan for controlling our borders and improving our economy. Labour will take us back to square one and can't be trusted to deliver security in uncertain times." That's a statement from the Conservative Party, who, as I say, weren't able to provide a candidate or representative.
Yeah, just bear with. I'm not exactly certain that was the clip. I wanted to show you. It was this one, sorry, from later on in the interview. And Sharman Rahman, who's a member of the Green Party, made this point, which is the one I was referring to. Sorry, just going to take the quality down slightly. It kept buffering last time, so let's just drag that back to the...
I understand when the public say that they have lost trust in politicians, because the reality is, over the last few years, we've seen many politicians stand at the very highest level of office and be dishonest with the public and run public office in a way as if it's their their own sort of fiefdom rather than being accountable to the public. And we've also seen that not only just from the Conservative government but from the Labour leadership with regards to making promises. Coming into the leadership, Keir Starmer made abundant promises with regards to the way that he foresaw his first government. And the reality is the majority of the public are now seeing that many of these pledges that he had made have now withered away one by one. And, you know, he's now colloquially known as Mr. U-turn. That weathers away at trust. And I think the public have a right to be cynical. I understand when public say...
Yeah, and this is now being reflected in voting activity. We got a sort of sense of that during the last local election. People are turning to the Greens, they're turning to independents. This is a good thing, by the way, of course. You know, Liberal Democrats, Labour and the Tories are all just three different shades of the same thing. And this is also going to be reflected in the low turnout as well. Not everybody, although there's been an increase in Green and independent votes in the locals and in various projections as well. That's also going to contribute to a low turnout because some people are just going to have basically given up on any belief that there can be anything different, basically, and that's pretty tragic in itself, but also rings true the lack of quality in the voting system that we have. And a quick reminder as well that none of the so-called three main parties here in England are going to be introducing any kind of PR system. But I do believe it's in the Greens manifesto, for example, because they are case in point just how many votes go to waste under first past the post. They have one seat at the moment, which at the last election over 900,000 people voted for them, but it garnered just one seat. But I believe they're also going to make gains at the next election despite the system, which I'll be touching on with some of the hot seats as well as the predictions that I've been throwing around here and there. I've just got some more clips lined up as well, if you bear with me. Yeah, going to start with Restore Nature Now Festival. Just had a few tech problems during the last one. It's worth taking a look at again. So this is, for those of you who didn't hear the last live stream, this is all my own footage from the march, and that was in London just the other weekend. I was leading one of the blocks on the march, which contained 100,000 people. Not the block, the entire march, of course. It was underreported on the media. They said somewhere around 65,000, I believe. But the official count is nearer to 100,000. So it was fantastically attended with many organisations there. I was there with Just Stop Oil on one of the blocks, but all kinds of conservationist organisations, because one of the overriding themes of this march was just how quickly species are dying out in this country, and it's happening even quicker across the world in the global south, and that sort of thing is heading towards us on the pathway that we're on, I should say. And the climate is in a lot of people's minds when they're walking into the ballot on Thursday. It's definitely going to be on mine. So yeah, now I've ironed out those couple of problems. Let's just take a look at what went down in that London. Here we are in London. Here today with Just Stop Oil, joining several other organisations, dozens of other organisations, all congregating around Hyde Park. We're going to be seeing some speeches shortly before the march starts. Everyone's in great spirits. There's lots of banners, signs, music, colourful placards. Great atmosphere. We're just crossing the road now, and we're going to see who's talking. So we'll have a chat in a bit. That was some roving reporter I sent out there, not sure who that was. Sorry about the delay in getting back to you there. Just in the middle of rearranging a couple of things in the order of the lineup, but that's a technical issue. I won't bore you with it. I'll just show you some more footage while I say a little bit more about the march. Just so yeah, so you really sort of, I'll just put that on again, but mute it. A bit more of a sense of the scale. Okay. Yeah, it was fantastic. So obviously there were organisations there specific to just one species or animal. You know, bats, birds, foxes. In fact, the organisation that was just in front of the block that I was leading was for bat conservation, and they had this massive bat, and they were using poles to make it fly. It was, you know, quite a long march, and they were doing pretty well to keep it going, keeping its wings going. From what I saw of that the whole way there, there were speeches. We got to Parliament Square as well. Just let me show you a couple of pictures of the block. Just had a bit of problem buffering. Let me know if it's coming through smooth for you. But yeah, the speeches were great. Fergal Sharkey was there as well from the punk band The Undertones. They did Teenage Kicks. Yeah, you must know that song, surely. I mean, it's you know, it's classic. It's classic. So managed to get down there and catch what Packham and Vince were saying. I can't use the clip from Packham's official video on the Restore Nature Now march because it had some music in the background that's copyrighted, I believe. I've had to go through the process of requesting a review for that one. But here's a bit of what I caught from what they said. And yeah, this is just about innovative ideas, you know, for the future. Hopefully, you know, we will get a party in that actually takes serious action on climate change soon, because we're already, you know, storming, steaming, sprinting past all these tipping points and record extremes in climate. So we'll be touching on that with someone else I've mentioned previously on the show in another clip coming up, but this is Chris Packham and Dale Vince.
But that's one thing. The second thing is we're making gas from grass right now. It's a way to replace the fossil gas in our gas main. We're doing that in Reading, and I just had the idea, why don't we put the two together? Maybe we could take protein out of the grass before we put it in the gas and then we make grass from it. We've done it in the lab. We take protein out of grass twice as efficiently as a cow can, and there's enough grass grown in our country every year to feed the whole country protein-wise twice over.
Okay, next up in your list of entrepreneurial ecological fantasticities, what about the electric aircraft? How's that coming?
Although you heard a brief part of the discussion about solutions and innovations, that one concerning extracting protein from grass, and Packer was asking him about electric planes as well towards the end of that clip. And there were many, many more that came up as well. Also, I mentioned Fergal Sharkey as well. He read out some poetry, which was fantastic also. And unfortunately, you know, the mainstream media were a bit slow to pick up on this. 100,000 people attended it, and the climate crisis is on a lot of people's minds at the moment. Yes, there's a lot of stuff going on with the election, but as you know, pointed out on the last stream, and especially with the comedy clip that I used at the start of that one as well, from Broken News with Larry and Paul. Larry and Paul, not Harry. So they were taking the mickey out of how easy stories about the royal family make it into the media, and how they obsess over the tiniest of things with the royal family. But only a few of mainstream media outlets even mentioned this massive march. So let us know if you were there as well, and what your experiences were. Yeah, I thought it was a great march. As I said, I can't show you that clip from Chris Packham, unfortunately. But I do have something else that I came across recently as well. Now this is from, got to give a shout out to another Fergal, actually, Fergal McKenty, for this clip of Kevin Anderson. Now, I've mentioned Kevin Anderson before when I've been talking about climate. I've had the pleasure of hosting talks where he's been speaking and attended others as well. So he's former government and United Nations advisor on climate. Actually, the first time I saw him speak was a talk that I co-hosted myself. And just earlier that day, he'd given almost the same sort of talk to the Home Office. So he really knows his stuff. And he's an advisor for the UN. As well, as I said, he's involved with the Tyndall Centre in Manchester also. He's a great guy. These are the sort of people you have to go to for the latest on climate change. And but this is where the politics of it comes into, because he's actually, and he's going to reveal in this clip, a Labour member, but he's voting for the Greens, and just shows you how far off the mark Starmer's policies are, as well as Sunak's as well, of course.
So forth. I would also add that I'm a member of the Labour Party, and I will be voting for the Green Party, because we don't have a Labour Party anymore. We've got Labour Light, led by someone else who has no integrity. So, but also just on the journalists, why is the
Just before he gets on to, he has a bit of a go at the mainstream press here. I also want to bring up, I've mentioned previously about how the concept of net zero itself is basically an accountancy scam, and Kevin explains that fantastically in his work. He does a website as well called Climate Uncensored, so I'd implore you to check that out as well. Do give him a follow on social media. I think on Twitter it's Kevin Climate or Climate Kevin. That's his Twitter handle. So do give him a follow and check out some of his work if you want to know why these carbon credits are an absolute accountancy scam in a granular detail. Then do check out his work. But just to briefly explain, if country A, such as, I don't know, I'll pick one at random, the United Kingdom of Britain and Northern Ireland extracts natural oil and gas and then sells it to another country, let's say country B, for example, then we get to offset the carbon output of that fuel being burned onto the other country. We pass the buck onto country B. So despite the fact that we're the ones who extract it from the ground, we then sell it, and obviously we know what the other country is going to do with it. They're going to burn it, yeah? So in that knowledge, we then get to say that we're not responsible for any CO2 output because we've kicked the can down the road and put the burden on country B. But if you want that explained a lot better than I did just there, and in a more comprehensive level, then do check out Professor Kevin Anderson's stuff. So now he's quickly going to have a jibe at the press as well, and a very well put one as well. I think it's Nick Robinson who he's referring to here.
Green Party manifesto. Why does it get so much stick? Because Nick Robinson, Michelle Hussein are on around about £1,300,000 a year. That's their BBC salary. Let alone when Michelle Hussein gives talks to oil companies, gets paid for her events in the evenings as well. Frédéric Bastiat, who was a French economist and was a sort of a contemporary of Adam Smith, so it was quite right wing, had a wonderful quote: "When plunder becomes a way of life, rich men create for themselves a legal system that authorises it and a moral code that glorifies it." And I would add to that, and a journalistic community that supports it. And that's why the Greens get stick for being honest in their manifesto when the other two parties aren't. But because we're locked into a fraudulent astrological economic system, which is supported by the journalists, then that's why we do not get honest journalism in the UK. We get wealthy journalists pulling apart credible policies and then supporting the ones that are actually incredible from a physics point of view, from a climate point of view.
Well put, Professor Kevin Anderson there. And he's absolutely right. You know, the only reason that we're seeing the Greens on mainstream media more often at the moment is obviously because it's an election time. But you look at outside of the election, and they hardly get a word in edgeways. Where's the one sec, just trying to find a picture. Where is he? And then this guy, you know, they're happy to entertain him all year long, whether there's an election coming up or not. He's never won a seat in 7 attempts. And that's why there's this, well, it's ungarnered, but this, you know, the way that Reform are trying to hype themselves up as becoming the next main opposition party. That's all hot air, of course. It's all bullshit, but that's all you ever get from Farage and Tice. And what Kevin said there, you know, the way that the mainstream media, people like Nick Robinson, pander to it is awful. It's appalling. They almost give it credence, you know. There's this sort of little cycle that goes on where something will come up in the right-wing press, the Daily Mail or the Tory Graph, it'll be absolute bollocks, of course. And then a Tory will refer to it in the House of Commons. And then other media will refer to that MP mentioning this in the House of Commons. And it starts to sort of add layers of validation to it, even though it started off as a bollocks right-wing article. You've then got, in a sort of zeitgeisty way, the press referring to a statement from an MP about the press. And that's how stories are created, embellished, and get focused on. That's the way that the Tory party have tried to whip up xenophobia with completely overblowing the state of immigration in the country and trying to point at refugees and a very small portion of people who are in a desperate situation rather than themselves for the current state of the country. But the more the media talk about it, the more it sort of validates it in people's minds as a thing. And it has to stop. I don't know about you, but I find myself rolling my eyes watching any kind of, mainstream outlet for a prolonged length of time these days. Obviously, I do clips and stuff on the show. But even recently, when you see the live debates and they either intervene for the wrong reason or they just allow someone to stand or sit, if it's an interview, and lie. There are, various repeated culprits of this. For example, Question Time's an absolute dumpster fire at the moment, the way that that's run. Victoria Derbyshire's not bad. On the BBC, this is, that I'm referring to. But I think, most, the likes of Laura Kussenberg. Of course, regular viewers will know that I'm no massive fan of hers either. And it's not just the BBC, it's spread throughout TV and print media alike. Someone who did manage to really make a good accounting of himself from the Greens recently, though, is so-called Zach Polanski. And this is what he had to say. I know I've already played a clip from the Greens. I do just want to remind viewers, just want to re-emphasise that I don't specifically endorse any party on this channel. However, I do encourage people to stay away from the so-called main three in England, Lib Dem, Labour and the Tories, and vote for a socialist grassroots party, independent or the Greens. And obviously those grassroots parties and independents will be very varied, so any of them will do. Just really make a stand and show that you're sick of the system and the way that the right wing can creep in now. And then, quickly on that, after this clip, I want to talk about the overall situation in Europe, because, of course, in tandem with the run up to this election, there's been one announced in France as well, and we said at the top of the show, the US have got their election coming up later this year as well. So this is Zach Polanski of the Greens.
Zach Polanski. Zach Polanski, thanks indeed for coming in. Can I start by asking about the perception that in the kind of rather rude words of Peter Mandelson, you have a kind of dustbin or a receptacle for a lot of left-wing critics of the Labour leadership, a lot of people who are angry particularly about Gaza, and that in a sense you have morphed from being a climate party to being a party more interested in the hard left. What do you say to that?
Well, I'd answer the question in two parts, Andrew. First of all, on Peter Mandelson himself. This is a lobbyist for oil and gas companies who I don't think should be lecturing anyone about dustbins in politics. But to your substantive point, the Green Party over...
Hey, Davinia and Vicky, welcome to the stream and to the chat. Sorry to just barge in there on the clip. Sorry, I've not realised this was actually set to members only. If you're trying to raid from Helena's No Justice channel, I'll try and see if, I'm not sure if I can adjust that once I've started the stream. Apologies about that. I hadn't realised. It's because I set the last one to members only on a rewatch, I think, because I've reused some of the settings. That's why that's happened. But a very warm welcome to both of you. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us on Brews at 10. If you got a cup of solidarity, and welcome to Brett James as well. Right, I'm just quickly looking into. I don't think I can. Yeah, I can change the. I can change when the ads come in. Obviously, if you're watching live, there's no mid-roll ads. That's only if you're watching on a replay. That's one of the benefits of watching live. But I don't think I can actually change the stream setting to public from members only once I've started the stream. So apologies about that, but thank you very much for joining me from Helena's No Justice stream. Yeah, I just do want to give a quick shout out to No Justice as well. For those of you who don't follow Helena, fantastic content. Please do check her out on YouTube. Just go back a few seconds because he interrupted the clip there, but let's see the rest of what Jack had to say while I try and look into how I might change this stream to public whilst live.
About dustbins in politics, but to your substantive point, the Green Party over the last 4 local elections have over quadrupled our number of seats, and in fact in the last 5 years have increased 5-fold. We've always been a party that have put the environment and the planet and its climate at the front and centre of all of our policies. However, these things cannot be detached, and nor should they be, from real issues of inequality. And when you look at this election, it's really clear that the Conservatives are toast. They are gone. But when people look at the Labour Party, they're seeing change, but it's not real hope and real change. It just feels like more of the same. The Green Party are the only party that is saying we will protect the NHS, tackle the housing crisis, and indeed tackle the climate too. And on Gaza, we make no apology. As a Jewish man, I can be both clear that we need to protect Jewish and Muslim communities in this country, but also we should absolutely call out the Israeli government's massacre and occupation in Israel, which has resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinians. I think you can do all of those things with sensitivity and nuance, and I'm proud the Green Party have done.
Yeah, he makes a great point there. When you look at the manifestos, it's all there. It's all there. Labour lack any ambition. It's not bold. It's bland. They even admitted they weren't trying to stick the necks out. I think that's the way that they put it. I describe it as just Tory imitation shite, to be quite frank. Just very quickly on that membership setting as well, I will change this to public after the stream, but unfortunately it's not something I can do once I've started the broadcast, so apologies for that. But yeah, I'm not sure what seat Zach here's going to be standing in. Sorry, I think I might have called him Jack earlier accidentally. I'll have to listen back and find out. But the Green Party do appear, or are the sort of focus of some of the hot seats, which I'm going to quickly go into now, as well as the updated hot questions. Also, just a reminder, obviously 3 days to go until the ballot itself, so the schedule for the live streams I'm going to be doing is hopefully going to be a quick live stream discussion around the time of the release of the exit poll, and then a couple of streams with a short break in between afterwards when the results start to come in. So keep an eye out for those. I think the exit poll normally comes out around 10 p.m. It'll be a very different Brews at 10 on Thursday, of course. And then the results themselves will start to come in sometime between midnight and 2 o'clock. Newcastle and Sunderland always famously have this race for who will declare first, of course. You'll be seeing shots of people at the count dashing off with ballot boxes and so on and so forth. Right. There might be just one or two more seats that can sneak their way onto this list by Thursday. But at the moment, this is how things stand. Right, let's go to hot seats first and then do hot questions. Don't panic, I do remember where I've put them. So here we are. And obviously one or two of these seats come up this evening as well. But starting at the top, Chingford and Woodford Green, hoping that independent Faiza Shaheen can upset Labour in that one. That's on the list because it's one of these classic cases of someone being deselected and then standing as an independent, which has happened to Faiza Shaheen. Bristol Central, I'm thinking, is going to be a Green again in Bristol. Islington North, Jeremy Corbyn's seat. It really is putting up a really good fight. Going to just focus on a couple of other things about this seat now very quickly. Paul Mason didn't make it through the selection process as he was hoping to, so won't be standing against Corbyn. They've got a different candidate in, whose name escapes me, but 70 members for local CLP, including 12 members of the NEC, the National Executive Committee in the area, have stood down from Labour to join Corbyn's campaign, and I think that's absolutely fantastic and just shows the level of support that he's got, and also how I think he's going to win. He's going to win. That would be mud in Labour's eye, especially Wes Streeting. He made an interview, I remember one with him about a month ago, and he declared that Jeremy Corbyn wouldn't be in Parliament after the next election, obviously after he'd had a massive dig at him, despite campaigning for him in the two previous elections, and also harped on with his mini party political broadcast about change, yada, yada, yada. You know the way it is. So, yeah, just a couple of updates there. Really can't wait until that's one of the biggest. I know they're all good seats, they're all good hot seats, but with him being the former leader of the opposition, of course, I think that's probably the hottest one. It's white hot, Islington North. I put Bristol Central on there twice, not sure. Yeah. Ilford North, now, Wes Streeting, who I just brought up there, that's his seat, with Leal Mohammed contesting. Wish her luck in Ilford North. Rochdale, it's a bit of an interesting one, just because it concerns the Workers' Party of Britain, obviously. They're in the mix as well. There is the debate about whether Workers' Party of Britain are going to split left-leaning votes or not, but I think in Rochdale, with Palestine obviously being the main campaigning issue there, and unfortunately no ceasefire at the moment, I think that it could be expected that the Workers' Party of Britain will hold that one. Holborn and St Pancras, okay, Keith's seat. Now this is a bit of a, I mean, another really hot one. If he lost the seat, but Labour won by a small majority, or even by a big majority. Not that I think it's going to go that far. Don't trust the polls. But Andrew Feinstein, yeah, he's the independent challenger. So really hoping he puts up a good fight against Keith. And similar to the other seats, Palestine is one of the main issues as well. Birkenhead, I think is going to be one of the seats that the Greens are going to win. I'd say they're definitely going to win at least 5 seats, maybe 10 or more. That'd be great. And Clacton's an important one. Can Nigel be kept out? Can Farage be kept out? Hope so. And I've said that even though I'm no fan of Keir Starmer, of course, or the current state of the Labour Party, that would be one of the seats where I wouldn't mind if Labour took a gain. But then it was pointed out in the chat on the last live stream that Labour have really removed the support for the candidate there in terms of like how many canvassers they're going to be getting, funding, that kind of thing. And they've really essentially, I don't want to say been left for dead, because but it'd be terrible if Farage did get in and it looked as though Starmer had opened the door for him. Starmer's also said recently, whilst we're on the subject, that he would work with Marine Le Pen, the hard right challenger in the upcoming French election, on migration via small boats. So he's happy to share a table with the far right. And I'll just quickly touch on that as well. So obviously Macron has had this knee-jerk reaction and called a snap election because he's been worried about the apparent rise of the far right in France and wants to nip it in the bud. There are those who are saying that the timing's going to mess things up for him and that he could essentially hand the country to a right-wing party, but that would be very scary as well. When you look across Europe, there are far-right leaders in Italy, Hungary. Look at what's going on between Ukraine and Russia. They're both right-wingers at each other's throats. And obviously in the States, they have a choice between 2 right-wingers as well in their election. Scary times to be alive, and we've got to keep them back. We've got to hold them back as much as we can. So on to hot questions. After I've just read out a couple of bits from the chat as well, sorry. My left eye was on one screen, my right eye's on the chat. Okay. So Vicky Cleese pointing out we have brought up Durham North to the ones to watch. I want Luke Akers to lose the Me Too, Vicky. That has been brought up and considered as well. I think it might be worth throwing on there. I mean, I can't see any reason why not, particularly because this again is another instance of a parachuted candidate. Luke Akers is from Oxford, and he's standing in the northeast. That's ridiculous. But he also is one of the Labour members who's part of the LFI, receives funding from lobby groups, etc. Just looking over a few other comments. Thanks a lot for those of you who jumped on the chat this evening. It's great to have your thoughts and questions and have a bit of a chat with you guys when I can. Yardley, yeah, Jess Phillips' seat as well. I was thinking about that earlier, actually. I think it was because I saw a clip of her from a few years ago on social media. But again, with the issue of Palestine, that could be one to watch. She's just, one of the worst sort of careerists within Labour at the moment. So Durham North, possibly, yeah, and Yardley. Is it just Yardley, or there might be some sort of geographical pointer in there? I do get them mixed up now and then, the north, south, east and west. So forgive me if I do bring those up and get the geographical direction wrong. All right, hot questions. So I've decided, to adjust the number, how many seats the Tories will lose. Will it be over or under 150? At this stage, I'm thinking over. But where are they going to go? That's the thing. Where are they going to go? They're not all going to go straight to Keith. That's for sure. That's what I'm predicting. But Lib Dem could become the main opposition party. And this is what a lot of it boils down to, is how well Lib Dem do, despite only being left with 11. Was it 11? 12? 11, I think. 11 MPs. In 2019, I think they could, along with the Greens, obviously, increase the number by several fold. I think that the votes that Reform are trying to say that they're expecting to get from the Tories, I think a great portion of them are going to go to Lib Dem. Nigel Farage is full of shit, of course, as is Richard Tice. And it'd be very typical of them to overstate their popularity as well. So they could become the main opposition party. You need the Tories to lose way more than 150 seats there, of course. So that's assuming that there could be a landslide for Labour, which I'm not sure about. In terms of vote share, polls and projections alike, I think, are saying that they probably won't beat the vote share that they got in 2019, which they're now describing as a disaster, as part of the change rhetoric. That was Gordon Brown in 2010. He lost 91 seats. But don't tell anyone. People have really short memories. Where else was I going with that? So, also, I think in terms of number, that Keith is going to garner fewer votes than in 2019, and then obviously 2017 as well. I think it was around 2 million less in 2019 than in 2017. But again, that's mostly Keith's fault, himself. Right. Will the SNP gain or lose seats? They're obviously by far and away the biggest party in Scotland at the moment. Obviously, this isn't all just about England. I think with that one, I think they will still hold on to a majority, but with less seats. It's a difficult one. They've got obviously a different leader now in Swinney since he's the third leader that they've had in a very short amount of time. Remains to be seen in Scotland, but I do think that maybe Scottish Labour could nab a few seats, but not they won't get anywhere near the number of seats that they got in 97, for example, which Starmer's hoping they'll repeat. But no, I think the SNP are still going to be the strongest party in Scotland. And then, will there be a hung parliament? That question is still on there. So should people, there's obviously going to be mass exodus away from the Tory party, but should enough of those votes go towards the Greens, Socialist Independents, and in the Lib Dems, who are going to be making gains by stealth, I think, then there could be a hung parliament, and will be more of a 2010 situation, perhaps, than we will be to 1997. And it could be that there might have to be some sort of coalition formed. It's going to be a low turnout, I'm pretty sure of that, which, you know, looking at around 55%-ish, maybe 55 to 60. It's not going to be huge. It's not going to be huge. But I think if Labour do pip it, then it will be by a minority, not by a massive supermajority, like a lot of the polls might have you thinking. But those are my 2 cents. That's the latest adjustment on the hot questions there as well. Sorry, I was just skimming through comments and stuff again. But those questions will be addressed and answered in just a couple of days. And I'm going to try and get one more Brews at 10 in, either tomorrow night or Wednesday night before the actual election itself. And then, of course, please do join me. So follow the exit poll and then the live results as they come in on Thursday night itself. I'm going to be with you until the wee small hours, until we find out who's won this bloody thing that we've been harping on about for weeks. I would have liked to have brought you a lot more content on it, but I'm just getting what I can in at the moment. Thanks a lot for those of you who've been coming back, listening to the live streams, checking out the other content on the channel as well. Before I remind you of our fantastic list of members, I do just want to do a quick bit. I'll just get my stall out briefly. So obviously, with this being a members only one live, obviously I can skip that part, but please do share us around on your social media. If you're watching on a replay, this will be public, but it's set to members only while it's going out live at the moment. So if you aren't a member, please do hit the button. That's just 99p. Some fantastic, amazing perks for you to enjoy. And you can also show solidarity by going to the Buy Me a Coffee page. These beverage references doing anything for you. You can go to the Buy Me a Coffee page, excuse me, by following the link in the description of this video or the channel, and help to support for just the price of a tasty hot beverage. Speaking of which, I'm going to have a sip myself. Yeah, and I do want to give a quick shout out to you all there. As we say our goodbyes for the evening. So don't forget to hit the notification bell. I'll try and post in the community. I'll try and make a community post as well. Keep you all up to speed. And yeah, it's okay if you missed out and joined us late. You can catch up with the rest on a replay. So thanks a lot to everyone in the live stream this evening. Davinia, Satnav, Vicky, Thank you so much, Octomimic also. And H. Lukill. Thanks for joining us in the chat. And I will catch you on the next one. All right, take care, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Hope you've enjoyed your solidarity. And my left eye, be seeing you soon. Good night.